Welcome to the Get Over Yourself podcast. This is author and athlete Brad Kearns, discovering ways to be healthy, fit, and happy in hectic, high-stress modern life. So let's slow down and take a deep breath, take a cold plunge, and expertly balance that competitive intensity with an appreciation of the journey. That's the theme of the show. Here we go. The Get Over Yourself podcast is brought to you by Almost Heaven, beautiful compact home use sauna kits, ancestral supplements, grass-fed organ meats in a capsule, DNA Fit, genetic testing for custom diet and exercise recommendations, Integro Health, high-potency liquid probiotic called Flourish, Organifi, organic powdered superfoods, delicious green, gold, and red powders, Wild Idea Buffalo, sustainable, grass-fed, beyond organic, real ketones, clean burning ketones for athletic performance and fat loss. And check out the bradkearns.com/shop page. That's my personal selection of favorite products for health, fitness, and peak performance. And here we go with the show. So if you're up at 6 a.m. doing the spin class, and then you jump on the subway and commute to work and sit at a desk all day, and then commute home on the subway, and then sit on the couch and watch Netflix celebrating the fact that you got up to the gym at 6 a.m. and you're chowing down a little bit of extra ice cream or a little bit of extra treat of this or that because you're such an athletic exerciser, active couch potato syndrome. You're no better off, or not much better off, than the person who skips that morning workout, and in fact could arguably in many ways be worse off than the generally active neighbor who's out there doing gardening, who's walking their kids a mile to school, who's taking the dog for a walk in the evening, perhaps taking a hike on the weekend, and just doing basic activity is getting a lot of health benefit. So not just getting your 8 hours of sleep and turning the lights down and having dark, mellow evenings, but also finding times throughout our busy days, especially with the hyperstimulation that we're subjected to, the digital connectivity nonstop with the handheld devices where we're never having any brain downtime because we're always thumb push or click away from digital stimulation. This has never happened before in the history of the human race. I have grave concerns about it. Foods that have nourished human evolution for the last 2.5 million years. That would be meat, fish, fowl, eggs, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. So choosing from those categories and notably eliminating the unhealthy, nutrient-deficient modern foods of refined grains, sugars, sweetened beverages, and industrial seed oils. Unfortunately, these foods make up about 71% of the calories in the standard American diet. This is Brad. I want to tell you about my life-changing acquisition of a personal home-use sauna. I have a 6x6 barrel sauna in my backyard, ready-made heat therapy, a fabulous unit from Almost Heaven. Check out their website. You can very affordably order your own sauna for installation in your backyard or garage and have a sauna experience, the fabulous health benefits accruing from exposure to hot temperatures. Get that sweat going. These are beautiful traditional dry barrel saunas where you splash the water on the rocks, go in there and relax. It's become a social centerpiece at my home. People traveling from far and wide to come check out the barrel sauna, turn the dial or set the timer and walk in to 200 degrees in the Caribbean seas. For some reason, people like to come to the sauna more than my cold tub. Go figure. Check out almostheaven.com and their beautiful natural wood designs, and pretty soon, surprisingly affordable, you will be in the home sauna business. Ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, bum. Hi, Breather listeners. Hopefully you listened to the previous Breather show about getting some blood tests done yourself. tracking your progress, testing, refining, taking action if you need to, if something happens, but being able to make that direct connection to going online, ordering some desired blood tests. And I forgot to mention this in the last show, but when you place your order, then you just type in your zip code and you're directed to a nearby lab. You print out your requisition, show up at the lab, fasted, they draw your blood, you go home. A few days later, you get your results by email. It's a beautiful thing. So welcome to the world of self-quantification, and sure doesn't hurt to run blood routinely and especially test and refine some of your diet, exercise, and lifestyle practices to see how things are going. I'm especially fond of testing my male hormone panels, my testosterone levels, to track the times in life where I might be making some mistakes or overdoing it, as I wrote about on my blog article, and taking corrective action. There's an article how I doubled my testosterone level from a clinically low reading to the 95th, 99th percentile for my age. And in fact, for males of the 20 to 29 age group, I was right in there with a really high level. But I went from sorry ass wussy boy who would have been diagnosed and treated with testosterone replacement therapy only 5 months later. I'm up there in the top percentiles. And I did that entirely through lifestyle modification, obviously. So there's an interesting article there. Going to be talking more about this in the future as one of my favorite topics, man. Trying to remain as strong and fit and healthy and delay the aging process for as long as possible. There is a concept in our new book, Keto Longevity, called compressed morbidity. And the concept is that you stay strong and fit and healthy for as long as you possibly can, to the extent that when it's time to decline and get sick and die of old age, your timeline is compressed. So you don't start dying at the age of 67 and get stuck together with meds and interventions and walking around in a walker or wheelchair and suffering and having diminished quality of life for decades, which is so common today. Instead, you still lift the weights and you walk every morning and you do some cardiovascular activity and you eat healthy and you keep your mind sharp and your social relationships active and lively, thereby enjoying your decades of 60s, 70s, 80s, and having minimal suffering, minimal medical intervention, minimal complaints or debilitating conditions that leave you on the sidelines instead of enjoying your life, especially physical activity and outdoor recreation and keeping your mind sharp so you can enjoy your life in every way. And boy, what a fantastic goal to strive for, this goal of compressed morbidity. I gotta say, my father, Dr. Walter Kearns, who passed in May of 2019, did a fantastic job on this level. And he died at the age of 97, and he had 95 or so years that were absolutely awesome, where he had no health complaints. He was strong, he was healthy, he was playing golf at a high level for almost his entire life. And then, you know what, when you get to be 95 or so, things start to decline. And of course, he went into a graceful, steady decline that lasted a very short time. His final year was, slower and slower and more sleeping and more time in bed and not doing much. But so what? If you had that many years banked at an awesome level, it's going to happen at some point. You just want it to happen gracefully without that prolonged suffering, which we're so commonly accustomed to these days. Yeah, compressed morbidity. Believe me, folks, it's worth striving for. Yeah, who wants to do a bunch of squats and sweat and get to the gym, eschew the decadent healthy foods that stuck under your nose when you go to the restaurant and they try to tempt you with a dessert cart and all these choices that we make on a day-to-day basis that possibly will compromise our long-term health? You got to make those choices, the hard choices that pay off so wonderfully, not only down the line 20, 30, 40 years later, but also at the very moment where you have a more energetic, happier, healthier day because you made decisions and engaged in behaviors that are aligned with your stated goals. So if you sleep in every time you're destined to go to the gym, you might feel a little bit bad about yourself that you're a slacker and get discouraged and be less likely to stay on that healthy path because you can't seem to get it done. But when you just habituate and put yourself in a position to succeed by, for example, not thinking about it, just saying, this is part of my life. I wake up every day and I engage in a morning breathing, stretching, mobility, meditation, yoga, whatever ritual you would like to do for the first 10 minutes of your morning. If you can put these success habits in place and make them a no-brainer and the same category as brushing your teeth. So we want to draw a little 3x5 index card, and you can write on one side, brushing teeth, putting seatbelt on when driving a vehicle. Number 3, saying hello when you answer the phone instead of saying nothing. You know, these kind of things that are automatic habitual behaviors. And then we want to put into that same exalted level of automatic behavior, things like the 10-minute morning routine, the evening walk with the dog. Raise your hand if you own a dog. If you own a dog, you got to get the dog outside to walk it. It's an animal. It deserves that. It craves that. So that's the least you could do. Even if you're too busy to take exquisite care of yourself, at least be a proper dog owner. And of course, by doing so, you get your own exercise and you enhance your own life. But we need to put these behaviors into automatic mode because modern life is so rife with temptations and distractions and things that take us away from healthy living. All right, there's my pep talk before I get into the actionable list of things to do as promised. Yeah, you're fired up now, aren't you? Aren't you now? So this was referencing my friend who got diagnosed with the heart condition and was very alarmed and had to take action on this matter out of the blue, thinking that he was living a healthy life. But hey, when the pipes start to get clogged up, boy, is that a wake-up call. And so I said, okay, here's some tips, man. Here's some things you can do right away. That's a simple overview. And this is sort of referencing what I've been doing for the past 11 years now since I got started with Mark Sisson and building the Primal Blueprint lifestyle movement, where the great transition away from a high carbohydrate grain-based diet into a primal or an ancestral eating pattern. And remember, 11 years ago, this was crazy, wild, new stuff. Even to me, I was a lifelong health enthusiast, athlete, and eating that high carbohydrate grain-based diet to make sure I got my brown rice and whole wheat pasta and whole grain bread and oatmeals and cereals and all these things that we were told were healthy. So I made an abrupt transition with great success and great enjoyment, and sticking to that very nicely 11 years later, where I've pretty much ditched all forms of refined grains and sugars, and especially the industrial seed oils from the diet, and emphasize healthy, natural, ancestral style foods. And of course, as you've heard on this show and the Primal Blueprint shows, I've experimented with all manner of more sophisticated approaches like the ketogenic eating strategy, and recently a carnivore-ish diet where I'm emphasizing animal foods just as an experimental process to see how it feels. And of course, these nutrient-dense foods, whatever I'm doing with the hair splitting and the particulars, I'm staying with the foods that have nourished human evolution for the last 2.5 million years. That would be meat, fish, fowl, eggs, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. So choosing from those categories and notably eliminating the unhealthy, nutrient-deficient modern foods of refined grains, sugars, sweetened beverages, and industrial seed oils. Unfortunately, these foods make up about 71% of the calories in the standard American diet, a statistic cited by Dr. Lauren Cordain. What a disaster to think that 71% of the fuel we're putting in our bodies is merely low-octane fuel to burn for energy that's almost entirely deficient in the micronutrients that we need to be healthy. So macronutrients is carbs, protein, fat, also ketones, right? Those are just energy molecules to burn. Macronutrients. And then we have the micronutrients, which would be the vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants, things that are contained in healthy foods that nourish our bodies at the cellular level, independent from just providing energy to burn in the gas tank. So we want a micronutrient-rich diet of the proper composition of macronutrients. Notably, when you go into an ancestral eating style, you're going to have, by comparison, a very low carbohydrate diet in comparison to the standard American diet, and a diet higher in healthy, nutritious, natural fats that come from the animal products and the high-fat plant products. Nuts and seeds, avocados, coconuts, thing like that. Okay, so that's the pretty simple, basic transition, the great transition that all humanity would be compelled to take to dramatically improve our health, is to ditch those nutrient-deficient foods. So that's number one. I'm trying to make a list of the great overview here of how to turn your life around and put into place some really simple and instantly highly effective tips and tricks. So number one would be to eat in a primal or an ancestral manner. And number two would be to move around more. I know, rising up the rankings. Experts in the world of fitness and exercise science are now putting the emphasis on routine daily movement, perhaps even higher in importance than getting into a devoted fitness regimen of doing those crazy workouts at the gym, the group classes or the personal trainer session or throwing around a bunch of iron. Of course, that stuff is important, and that's going to get you to the highest level of potential for your longevity. But we must not forget the basic requirement to move around more throughout the day, even or perhaps especially in the fitness community, because a lot of times athletes will take a free pass on the general everyday movement requirement, the obligation of the human body to move. It's called the active couch potato syndrome. This is a scientifically observed phenomenon whereby people who devotedly put in their time at the gym, they run an hour every single morning, or they're at the gym 5 days a week doing exercise classes, people with a devoted fitness regimen still show signs of metabolic dysfunction and disease patterns like a sedentary person if the rest of their lifestyle is highly sedentary. So if you're up at 6 a.m. doing the spin class, and then you jump on the subway and commute to work and sit at a desk all day, and then commute home on the subway, and then sit on the couch and watch Netflix, celebrating the fact that you got up to the gym at 6 a.m. and you're chowing down a little bit of extra ice cream or a little bit of extra treat of this or that because you're such an athletic exerciser. Active couch potato syndrome. You're no better off, or not much better off, than the person who skips that morning workout. And in fact, could arguably in many ways be worse off than the generally active neighbor who's out there doing gardening, who's walking their kids a mile to school, who's taking the dog for a walk in the evening, perhaps taking a hike on the weekend, and just doing basic activity is getting a lot of health benefit, including fat burning and all those goals that we strive for when we're doing our best and pushing ourselves to get into the gym and burn those calories. So if you can just get up and move more throughout the day. Mark Sisson and I coined this term JFW, for the book Keto Longevity as the number one objective in this category. It stands for just effing walk. That's the simplest objective here to raise your score, is take the time to park at the furthest spot on the lot and walk into the store instead of slumming for the closer spot. Walk up the stairs instead of using the elevator. Hey man, if you work on the 37th floor, okay, get off on the 30th floor then and walk up 7 floors. Same, walk down 5, 6, 7, 10 floors and then get on the elevator. Make daily movement a routine. If you look on YouTube for Brad Kearns' morning routine, I have a nice ritual where before I do anything, the very first thing I do every single day is this custom designed morning flexibility and mobility drill series where I'm working the hamstrings, hip flexors, and especially the core. I'm lying on the ground and flipping my legs every which way, doing scissors and kickouts. And this was designed to help me with my sprint workouts and help me establish a higher fitness base to prevent injury and make my workouts go better. But it's sort of a habitual exercise that I don't even think about. I have no options of skipping it or not skipping it. Of course, it's not much of a workout, but it's a nice little core stimulator. I mean, it's tough by the time I finish, especially when I finish with the back bridge, which is probably the hardest workout move I do, even compared to hoisting up that deadlift bar. But now this is locked into my morning routine. So every single day, even if I'm too busy to go and get a magnificent workout in, at least takes about 12 minutes. I'm not going to suggest that you jump right into a 12-minute routine, but if you can commit to 5 minutes first thing in the morning to get your body moving, just doing the familiar sun salute series of exercises that's a fundamental of the yoga practice, you will go a long way toward implementing these healthy patterns. Keep in mind when you're sitting at your desk that a stillness period of as short as 20 minutes has been shown to have a measurable impact on insulin resistance. So you stop burning fat well if you're sitting at your desk, even for as short as 20 minutes. So pop up, go get a drink, go sharpen your pencil, get another sticky notepad and bring it back, go talk to somebody, make an excuse, go down one set of stairs and back up, and do that throughout the day. 5-minute break every hour, 10-minute break every 2 hours, whatever you can manage. And I know it's a lot to ask, but if you can do that, you will get a measurable boost in cognitive function, oxygen delivery, and blood circulation to the brain when you get up and move. So it's an absolute fundamental element of achieving cognitive peak performance throughout the day. You need to get up and move. If you can't go take a walk because you're answering phones or something, you can get up in your cubicle or even at your front desk and do a set of 10 deep squats at times throughout the day when the opportunity presents itself. There's stuff you can do to keep moving. So even a stationary activity like doing some desk dips where you put your hands on the edge of the desk and dip down and back up, or doing some squats, anything to get the blood moving and keeping that fat burning activities going. So that's a huge one. Move around more, frequent breaks at work. And of course, thrown into this category would be the low level cardiovascular activity. The low heart rate stuff that forms the foundation, especially for an endurance enthusiast, but for any fitness enthusiast, it's important to work that low end where you're getting a predominantly fat burning workout and you're staying away from the more stressful, higher intensity workouts that favor glucose burning rather than fat burning. And as you've heard me discuss many times on the Primal Endurance podcast and at times on this show, the heart rate to quantify the distinction here would be 180 minus your age in beats per minute. That would be the cutoff point for an aerobic workout versus a workout that is too stressful and more favoring glucose burning rather than fat burning. So when you drift above that 180 minus age, the metabolic effects of the workout change and it no longer becomes a effective fat burning session. It becomes something else like an interval workout or whatever you want to call it. We call it the black hole because it's a point where the workout's not intense enough to really qualify as a truly successful explosive peak performance session, but it's too difficult to be considered a fat burning session. So you want to stay out of that black hole in large part and do the vast majority of your cardio workouts at this magical heart rate of 180 minus your age or below. So heading for a walk around the block, of course, that's fine. If you're really fit, you can probably get away with jogging at a decent pace and still seeing that heart rate at 180 minus your age or below. But for most people, slowing down your typical workout pace will pay wonderful dividends and kick you into optimal fat burning beast mode and contribute to your dietary goals and your fat reduction goals if you just slow down and burn more fat, less sugar. So that's the objective number 2 if you're keeping score. First one was to eat primally and ditch those nasty modern foods that have no nutritional value. The second one is to move around more with JFW and also the aerobic workouts. And then I'm going to put number 3 on this overview of healthy lifestyle tips is to use it or lose it once in a while. Push your body. Do something challenging. Sprint, lift some heavy weights, do a stressful, high intensity session that is short in duration rather than too long in duration and turning into a fight or flight hormone bath. So unfortunately, many of the popular favored workouts that we see in the fitness scene are lasting a little bit too long for my liking or my preference for you and turning into an overly stressful event where you do this invigorating spin class or group exercise boot camp class or go with your trainer and they put you through the motions for an hour or an hour and 15 minutes. And what happens is if you do an explosive high intensity session that lasts for too long a duration, you get a cumulative fatigue effect where you're draining your tank over the course of the workout and you end the workout feeling depleted, you're glycogen depleted, your brain is deficient, depleted of energy, and you're going to crave sugar and feel tired in the ensuing hours, the ensuing 6 hours, 12 hours, even 24 hours. I know what it's like to overdo it with my sprint sessions, and I feel great at the time because I have the inflammatory processes going and the fight or flight hormones circulating in my bloodstream. But then 24 hours later, 36 hours later, I feel like crap. I need to take a nap. I'm stiff. I'm sore. And I have signs of overdoing it and overstressing the body. So the key here with these workouts is to have them short in duration and explosive in nature. CrossFit, many thumbs up to the wonderful fitness program and incredible fitness movement that's built from the grassroots CrossFit community. However, my contention is that many of those workouts last too long for the average participant. Not the elite participant that's trying to make it to the CrossFit Games, but the person who's signed up diligently, going into the gym, trying to get fitter, and they put you through the paces and the workout lasts for an hour, where you might be better served with a workout that lasts for 30 or 40 minutes. Okay, so that's the tip there with the high intensity explosive stuff, is you want to leave these workouts feeling pleasantly fatigued, of course, but still energized and alert and in a positive mindset because you haven't trashed your body. This no pain, no gain mentality that still lingers today in the fitness scene. And a lot of it's due to the endorphin rush that you get from a truly exhaustive workout, like a crazy 1 hour long spinning session where you're jamming to the music and exhorted to sprint over and over until the end of the song. And you feel great and you're high five and you're dripping in a pool of sweat and you feel like you've accomplished a lot of hard work, but it's too much for the body and the stress impact is not worth the fitness benefit that you obtain. Makes sense? So you tone down even your explosive workouts to be shorter in duration, but then as a consequence, more explosive. Get it? You're higher quality because you're not in there forever. So in CrossFit, I remember going through the sequences where we do a routine of different things and then be asked to do it again. And then be asked to do it a third time. And I was like, you know what? 1.5 times I threw down and did some wonderful, perfect technique and really explosive efforts. And then I was just trying to survive and make it through the workout for the ensuing set. So that's the cutoff point where it's like, nah, you really don't need to do any more than that. You want to be sharp, explosive, and recover quickly, not feel drained and depleted. Dr. Phil Maffentone doesn't even want you to feel sore after your high intensity sessions. So I'm working on that one, Dr. Phil. I get sore all the time, man. It's so frustrating, but I kind of like to push it. I'm competitive, and I'm still trying to become more resilient so that I can go throw down a nice several sets of deadlifting and wake up the next morning and feel fine instead of a little bit sore. Same with my sprinting. So it's an ongoing battle, but it's a good goal to strive for, especially if you're a novice and just trying to get better and better with your fitness, is don't get sore. Just push yourself a little bit. And then you come back over time and can have more ambitious workouts as time goes on and you build fitness. So that was number 3 on the overview of healthy living tips. and future breather shows will get deeper into these. So this is meant to be kind of the big picture show. And I'll end finally with sleeping, relaxing, taking downtime. So not just getting your 8 hours of sleep and turning the lights down and having dark, mellow evenings, but also finding times throughout our busy days, especially with the hyperstimulation that we're subjected to, the digital connectivity nonstop with the handheld devices where we're never having any brain downtime because we're always one thumb push or click away from digital stimulation. This has never happened before in the history of the human race. I have grave concerns about it for the history of humanity, not just adults, but especially today's youth that grew up in the digital age and have never had downtime to space out and daydream, or, we don't sit on the front porch anymore in a rocking chair and talk about our day with our loved ones. We're just watching something or engaged with a screen or a machine from the moment we wake up, especially bad the moment we wake up, until the moment we go to bed. And it's creating havoc in our health. And I think the health destruction, we're only scratching the surface of seeing just how destructive all this stuff is. It's going to play out over the next decades. And personally, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a victim or a statistic. So I want to protect my brain. I need to give my brain downtime. I want to engage in peak cognitive tasks and make my highest contribution to the world. For example, starting and finishing a book and making it a good quality piece of work rather than something that happened through constant distractibility. And I'm copping to some problems and some challenges in this area where I feel like I can do better, but it takes constant discipline and focus and awareness of that need for downtime. So in the mix with sleep is taking downtime, unplugging, getting out, engaging with nature. But of course, with sleep, I'll leave you with that top level tip of minimizing artificial light and digital stimulation after dark. It's an absolute must. If you insist on engaging with the screen after dark, do it as early as possible in the evening, and then reserve that final 2 hours for winding down, mellowing out, socializing, reading, whatever, doing housework, taking the dog for a walk, but getting away from the screen to facilitate the process called dim light melatonin onset, DLMO. And that's when you allow the wonderful sleep hormone and restorative hormone melatonin to flood the bloodstream and make you sleepy and make you feel sluggish and ready for bed rather than ready to burst out with a highly energetic late evening activities, right? So you want this melatonin flood to occur on cue soon after it gets dark and then prep you for a good night of sleep. And if you arrest the melatonin flood in the bloodstream, what's going to happen is instead, you're going to spike stress hormones and you're going to have that high energy evening where you're engaged with the screen, you're finishing up your emails from 10:30 to 11 p.m., whatever you're doing. That is essentially going to compromise you cycling gracefully and efficiently through all the different cycles of sleep and waking up feeling refreshed and energized in the morning. So that's the grand overview of healthy living, anti-aging tips. Number 1, eat primally, ditch that processed food, eat the good stuff. Number 2, move around more, JFW, and make sure you do aerobic workouts. Number 3, get some high intensity, challenge yourself, push yourself, use it or lose it. And number 4, get enough sleep, relaxation, and downtime. Thanks for listening to the Breathe the Show. Thank you for listening to the show. We would love your feedback at getoveryourselfpodcast@gmail.com. And we would also love if you could leave a rating and a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. I know it's a hassle. You have to go to desktop iTunes, click on the tab that says ratings and reviews, and then click to rate the show anywhere from 5 to 5 stars. And it really helps spread the word so more people can find the show and get over themselves because they need to. Thanks for doing it. Let's talk about ancestral supplements. If you're into ancestral health, primal paleo, keto, you know the importance of consuming these unique agents contained in bone marrow, in the nose to tail organ meats, liver, kidney, all that stuff, the great bone broth benefits. Well, how's it going? For me, since years ago when Dr. Kate Shanahan asserted the importance of these wonderful nutritional benefits that you can't get elsewhere, not too good. I don't know how to cook a liver or a kidney, but now your problems are solved forever when you go to ancestralsupplements.com, a wonderful company filled with people who are living the dream, walking their talk, and bottling up the purest, cleanest sources of grass-fed organ meats, kidney, liver, bone marrow, all in these wonderful capsules. I dump them in my smoothie every day. I'm healthy. I don't have to worry. It's an incredible dietary boost. And this is so different from swallowing a bunch of those synthetic vitamins in those giant bottles from the big box stores. Highly questionable health practice. This stuff is the real deal. Grass-fed